Aide to the Deputy Chief, Part 3. The secretary announced that the judge was back in his chambers. They, of course, had a separate corridor system to get them from their chambers to their courtrooms without having to encounter the public, and that we could all now enter. As we walked single file into Judge Lee's large office, the chief magistrate started speaking by thanking him for meeting with us and beginning to introduce everyone in the visiting party. This is Chief Young, and you know Sheriff Aide, and this is... She began when all of a sudden Judge Lee sort of brushed her off and came out from behind his desk, headed directly towards me. "Beal!" He used to pronounce it Beal instead of Bill. "Beal Brown, how are you doing? I didn't know you were involved in this. I'd forgotten that you went with the police department," he said, his hand outstretched, and only to me. Motioning everyone else to take a seat in the chairs that had been arranged, he continued to direct his full attention to me, to a person everyone else was dumbstruck. They couldn't believe that this hard-nosed circuit court judge, Gerald Lee, was giving his full time and attention to a lowly police department first lieutenant. "So tell me, Beal, is this magistrate system going to work, and is it going to save time all around?" Before I could answer, he turned, addressing the group, saying, "Beal and I go way back to our days at American University when we worked together in radio. So, Beal, is this going to work?" I briefly said how nice it was to see him again after all these years, and that the system would be a great innovation, a time saver for police and court personnel, and would get citizens either back to their communities or incarcerated more quickly. "Well, that's all I need to hear," Gerald replied. "I'll approve the system, and you all just keep me posted on how it works. Thanks for meeting with me today." And with that, he started back to his desk, the door opened, we started to exit, and once outside, you can imagine everyone's shock and surprise that not only was the system approved by someone whom they were sure would reject it, but it sailed through because of little old Aide to the Deputy Chief of Operations, Lieutenant Beal Brown, was just an old friend of Fairfax County's first African-American circuit court judge, Gerald Bruce Lee. In 1993, Tom Sines announced his retirement from the department. Pat, Maloon Brown, Chris, and I were on vacation in Maine when I received a call from Pat McDonald at the police department. This was before the days of individual cell phones, so I used my department credit card and returned her call from the motel office. Pat said, "Well, I've got some bad news and I've got some good news." The bad news was that Tom was retiring. The good news was that I was being promoted to captain due to the vacancies created by his retirement, and was being assigned back as the commander of the Mason District Station, my third tour there. I was sad and glad all at the same time. One collateral effect of all this was the captain who had helped instigate or at least orchestrate the revolt against Tom Sines' rise to chief was being promoted and taking Tom's place as deputy chief for operations. Ugh. So while I felt sorry for Pat McDonald, she wasn't going anywhere as a result of Tom's retirement, I was doubly glad to have gotten promoted away from that office so I wouldn't have to serve directly under the new deputy chief.